Hi everyone, Sean here for the WorldCupNow.com, bringing you your Barclays Gameweek 15 tips and advice for this week. And as I'm recording this is Tuesday, so I'm not getting the benefit of watching tomorrow, Wednesday's Champions League games or the Thursday Europa games going into this game week. I do get to watch it, but I don't get to watch it prior to sending out this video, because Wednesday I'm going to be busy with personal stuff, and then on Thursday evening I have a work Christmas function that I must attend. So as I always say, I do want to get videos out for you regardless of my time constrictions, but I want to get them out for you so you can take advantage of whatever little pieces of advice I can give you. And I do have some interesting topics that I want to go over with you in regards to the upcoming fixtures and how it relates to your team. So stick around, I'm just going to flip over to the screen and we will get right into it. I'm just here on the fantasypremierleague.com website and I'm on the transfers page. Now I'm in my team. You notice as I'm scrolling down I'm negative 28 points. It's obviously not something I'd follow through, it's just for illustrative purposes, but I think we can all agree that there are currently right now 4 strikers that most managers or all managers want to have, and that would consist of Suarez, Aguero, Rooney, and then maybe to a lesser extent Negredo, because he's good at home, but then you're 50-50, and then you can maybe go with either Giroud or Lukaku. Now I know a lot of people are going to be moving into Everton players, so Lukaku is going to be rising in value over the next couple weeks because of the good fixtures that Everton have and the recent results. And that is something that I'm doing as well too, and that's why I left Coleman up here, just to illustrate the next 3 fixtures for him are going to be Fulham home, Swansea away, and Sunderland home. Now, that being said, if everyone has the same strike force line, whether it's Rooney, Suarez, and Aguero, there's not much room for an edge. So what's going to happen when in your mini leagues? You're going to have to find a way to get a differential player that's going to score and going to get you ahead of these players, or managers rather, that have the same setup on forward line but are going to have varying choices on their midfield and their defenders. So that's really where the differential is going to come in this season, up until I think the January wild card, and then we'll start getting into double game weeks, and that'll change the format of the game, but we'll approach that when that comes. So let's say that now that you were looking for midfield differentials. Now a lot of people are going to be picking up Silva this week after the showing in Champs game. I believe he scored, and I didn't get a chance to see the highlight, but I heard it was nice. So I'm going to take a look at the highlights a little bit later after recording this video. Some players, Gerrard was a good differential too, because not a lot of people had him. He had low ownership, but now he's injured. So I would look at, and I've got him up here on my screen, Michu as a differential and Silva as a differential. Those two are going to be low owners, but yet you're going to be able to get some points from that. So what's going to happen then when you're spending that kind of money on your midfield? As a result, you're going to have to cheapen your defense. I do have this set up, and I had it set up this way, and it's a feature I've shown before, but we'll hit autocomplete and see what we get. Now immediately you can see it's not a stellar defense line in the least, Coleman being the highest value, and he is the highest in terms of points for defenders thus far in the league. But if you look at it, you've got Jenkinson, your next highest, at 4.1, and you can also see by the team you have 2 Crystal Palace, 1 Cardiff, and 1 Norwich. So you're not going to be getting a stellar amount of players, but it is something you can do. I don't think Ryan Bennett's played in a while, no. Ward, I believe, has. I think he's a regular, which is not a bad pick, considering he's got 17 points in his last 3 games, and he's only 4.0. So a Crystal Palace is going to get on a lot of people's team sheets. Now looking at their fixtures, they're going to have a rough away game with Chelsea. Then they have Newcastle and Aston Villa. That could be very good. And then you got a really tough sitting with City away, Norwich, and then Tottenham away. And then it gets a little bit easier. So it almost looks like if they have 2 mid-table to easy games followed by a top-table team. And that trend looks like it's going to continue for the rest of their fixtures. That's something I try to look at too, is in terms of fixture runs. As I pointed out with Everton, if you're looking at their fixtures, they've got basically a good run of almost 8 weeks of mid-table teams. You've got Fulham, Swansea, Sunderland. Starting to struggle defensively, Southampton, so I'm going to put that into the easy category as well. Then you got Stoke, Norwich, West Brom, and then not a tough fixture until January 28th, which is Liverpool away, and then Aston Villa home, and then Tottenham. So this whole run, basically up until, later into the late season, when you get into Arsenal, United, and City to end the season, that's going to be a good run, and this is going to be very important for Everton to grab as many points as they can in this mid-season or time frame of the season, so in that way they can solidify a high top table spot for them. So a lot of managers are seeing this. It's not just myself, and I'm sharing this with you, so in that way you can take advantage of it too. So it's that's kind of where you get the differential. Is you got to look at the fixtures, you got to see who's going to have the good runs, and then you got to position your team likewise. Now, would it be wise to maybe swap out one of these 3 for Lukaku? Of course, but then you're running the risk of not being on board for when a Suarez gets, what was it, 24 points and then 15 points, and that's going to be kind of risky. And I wouldn't really look to get your differential in the front striking line. I would look for either your midfield and your defense, simply because you have a higher chance of getting that differential just because there's a higher number of choices. If we had 4 options for strikers, then it would be a different story, but in this case we don't. So that's kind of the tip that I'm going to give to you going forward. It's kind of unfortunate that I don't get to see tomorrow's Champs game and the Europa League, just in case there's any injuries or whatnot, but all things considered, as it is as of Tuesday, December 12th, that is the way I am picturing this game week going, and I would look to position your team likewise. So, again, best of luck, and I will see you next game week.